mystery for sleep, where we slow down, settle in, and let the story do the rest. Before we begin tonight, take a breath, just one slow breath in and out. Let your shoulders drop, let your hands rest, let the day go. Tonight, we're going somewhere warm, somewhere quiet, somewhere that smells of wood smoke and melted sand, and something ancient and beautiful. Tonight, we're stepping inside a glassblower's workshop on the coldest evening of the year. The snow has been falling since noon. The cobblestones outside are buried under a soft white silence. The rest of the town closed hours ago, but one window is still glowing, deep amber, flickering, alive. That window belongs to him, and if you like what you hear tonight, if this story helps you rest, please leave us a like and subscribe. A new story arrives every week, just like this one, just for nights like this. And stay with us until the end of tonight's story, because there is a secret that glassblowers have kept for 500 years. One thing they never teach, only whisper. We'll tell you at the end. Now close your eyes. The door is open. Come inside. The first thing you notice is the warmth. It hits you the moment you step through the door. A deep, radiating, full-body warmth that is nothing like the warmth of a fireplace or a heated room. This warmth comes from somewhere older, somewhere deeper. It comes from the furnace. It stands at the center of the workshop like a small sun, a great domed structure of blackened brick and iron, its mouth glowing a color that has no name in ordinary language. Not orange, not red, something between the two, something that shifts and breathes and pulses like a living thing. The temperature inside this furnace is over 1,000 degrees. You can feel it from across the room. You can feel it in your cheeks, in your hands, in the slow loosening of every muscle you didn't know was tense. The glassblower's name is Edmund. He is not a young man. His hands are large and weathered, mapped with old burns and fine scars. The quiet autobiography of 40 years spent working with fire. His hair is gray at the temples. His apron is leather, dark, and worn smooth in all the places where it matters. He does not look up when you enter. He is already working. In his hands, a long iron pipe, nearly 5 feet from end to end. At its tip, a small gather of molten glass, glowing, trembling, impossibly bright against the dim workshop walls. He holds it steady, turning it slowly, always turning, because glass that stops moving will fall. Glass that stops moving will lose its shape. Glass, in this state, obeys only one law: keep moving or be lost. Edmund knows this law the way he knows his own heartbeat. He turns the pipe. The glass There is nothing to do. There is only this room, this warmth, this man, and the small glowing world at the end of his pipe, turning, always turning, taking shape in the firelight. Edmund lifts the pipe to his lips. He breathes in, slow, measured, deliberate, and then he breathes out, long and steady and controlled, the breath of a man who has done this 10,000 times and knows that patience is not a virtue here. It is a technique. It is the only technique that matters. The glass responds. It swells gently, evenly, like a soap bubble forming in slow motion. It catches the light of the furnace and holds it inside itself, glowing from within, a small captured sun of amber and gold. Edmund lowers the pipe. He turns it again. He watches. He waits. This is the part that cannot be rushed. This is the part that took him years to learn. Not the blowing, not the shaping, but the waiting, knowing when to act and when to simply let the glass be what it wants to be. The snow outside deepens, the furnace breathes, and in the warm amber silence of this winter workshop, something beautiful is beginning to take shape. Along the walls of Edmund's workshop, arranged with the quiet precision of a man who has lived alone for a long time, are his tools. You let your eyes move slowly across them. There are jacks, long metal tongs with flat blades, used for shaping and constricting the glass while it is still soft. They hang in a row by size, smallest to largest, their handles worn smooth and dark from decades of use. There are paddles, flat wooden boards, slightly scorched at the edges, used to flatten and guide the molten material. The wood is a special kind, fruit wood, cherry, or apple, chosen because it chars slowly and holds its shape under heat. There are shears, heavy, spring-loaded scissors for cutting glass while it still glows. Edmund's shears are old, older than most of the furniture in this room. He had them sharpened once, years ago, by a man in the next town who has since passed away. He sharpens them himself now, carefully, on a whetstone he keeps wrapped in cloth in the bottom drawer of his workbench. There are molds, wooden and metal forms into which soft glass can be pressed or blown to create consistent shapes. Bottles, bowls, globes, cylinders. Each mold tells a story of a commission completed, a customer satisfied, a shape requested and delivered. And there are the pipes, dozens of them, racked along the far wall like a strange iron organ, each one slightly different, different lengths, different diameters, different weights. Edmund knows each one by feel. He could reach for the right pipe in the dark and find it without hesitation. has in fact done exactly that. There was a winter many years ago when the lamp above his workbench burned out at 2 in the morning and he had no replacement. He worked by furnace light alone for 3 hours, finishing a commission that had to be delivered by dawn. He never told the customer. The piece was perfect. Edmund sets down his current pipe and crosses to the rack. His footsteps are unhurried. His breathing is even. He selects a longer pipe, one with a slightly wider bore, and returns to his stool without rushing, without fumbling, without any of the small, anxious movements that fill most people's days. He has learned, over 40 years, to move only when movement is necessary, to speak only when speech is needed, to rest, truly rest, in the spaces between. You watch him settle back onto his stool. You watch him return the new pipe to the furnace, gathering a fresh ball of molten glass at its tip with a slow, practiced rotation. The furnace hums, the snow falls, the workshop holds its breath, and you feel something loosen in your chest, something you have been carrying all day without knowing it, quietly, gently, without drama, releasing glass. Edmund once told an apprentice who did not stay long enough to learn, is not what most people think it is. Most people think glass is a solid. It is not. Glass is a liquid, an ancient, slow-moving liquid that has simply forgotten how to flow. Given enough time, centuries, millennia, the glass in old windows will thicken at the bottom, pulled downward by gravity so slowly that no human lifetime is long enough to witness it. Glass remembers that it was once liquid. Glass remembers the fire. Edmund thinks about this sometimes late at night when the workshop is quiet and the furnace has settled into its low, steady roar. He thinks about the sand that became this glass, ordinary sand from an ordinary beach somewhere, transformed by heat into something transparent and luminous and strange. He thinks about transformation, about how the most beautiful things are often made in the hottest places, about how patience and heat and the right pair of hands can turn something common into something that catches light and holds it and gives it back to the world in a new way. He is not a philosophical man, Edmund. He does not read much. He does not talk much, but he thinks in his quiet way about these things, about sand and fire and time, about what it means to make something by hand that will outlast you. The piece he is working on tonight is a vessel, not a bottle, not a bowl, something between the two, a form that has no common name, that exists only because Edmund imagined it and his hands knew how to find it in the glass. It is wider at the base than at the neck. Its walls are thin, thin enough that light passes through them and scatters into soft prismatic colors on the workbench. pipe's rotation, the record of every decision he made in the last 2 hours. It is, in other words, entirely his. No machine could make this. No mold could produce these exact ripples, this exact thinness, this exact quality of light moving through the walls. This piece exists because Edmund exists, because his hands are the size they are, and his breath is as steady as it is, and he has spent 40 years learning to listen to what the glass wants to become. He holds it up to the furnace light. The amber glow passes through it and blooms on the far wall, a soft, warm, wordless light that fills the workshop like a second fire. Edmund looks at it for a long time. Then he nods once to himself and sets it carefully in the annealing oven to cool, slowly, slowly, over the next 12 hours, so that it does not crack from the shock of cold air. Glass must be cooled slowly. Like most things worth keeping, you are still here. Good. Because it is time. Edmund has set down his tools. The furnace is banked for the night, still warm, still glowing, but lower now, quieter, breathing slowly like something almost asleep. He pours himself a small cup of tea from a pot that has been sitting on the edge of the workbench for the last hour, warm and dark and slightly too strong. He wraps both hands around the cup. He looks out the small window at the snow still falling on the empty street. And now, the secret, the thing that glassblowers have kept for 500 years, the thing they never teach, only whisper. It is this: you cannot force glass. You can heat it, you can shape it, you can blow into it and turn it and press it and cut it, but you cannot force it to be what it does not want to be. If you push too hard, it cracks. If you move too fast, it collapses. If you lose patience, even for a moment, the piece is lost. The secret of glass blowing is the secret of everything made well. You must work with the material, not against it. You must listen more than you act. You must know when to shape and when to simply hold steady and let the heat do what heat does. Edmund has spent 40 years learning this, and he will tell you quietly, without drama, the way he tells everything, that it applies to more than glass. It applies to mornings that won't cooperate, to people who won't be rushed, to grief that won't be hurried through, to sleep that won't come when you demand it, but arrives softly when you finally stop trying. So stop trying now. Let the furnace breathe. Let the snow fall. Let Edmund sit with his tea and his quiet workshop and his 40 years of patient, beautiful work. You have been here long enough to feel the warmth, long enough to let the day go, long enough to understand that some things, the best things, cannot be forced, only waited for, only adjusted to the heat, close your eyes now. The glass is cooling in the oven. The snow is still falling, and you are already almost there.